Hello, this will be a pretty quick video. I have bound the body and the neck on this build and wanted to show you how to fill some gaps. So it's as simple as some acetone and some scrap of the same binding color material, and we're going to just lightly melt it with the acetone. And then I've got these plastic razor blades that are really handy at kind of squeegeeing it into the gaps. So pretty straightforward. The first step is to very swiftly steal a mason jar from the kitchen from your wife, unless you want to risk capture. You'll need something that's not plastic because the acetone will melt. No big deal. Just splattered some acetone on my face. It's all good. I'm going to do this on the floor. This is fuller than I expected. Acetone acquired. Just going to take an extra stick of this binding, plunk it in. And truthfully, I don't need it to be quite that long. So save that piece in case this gets too soft on us. It takes it a little bit. I just kind of let it soak and keep checking it. You can feel it kind of get more flexible, and then like if you like scrape it up against the side of the glass, you can kind of see the plastic starting to soften. Okay. Not sure if you'll be able to see this, but you can kind of see a little bit of a milkiness happening. So it is softening it slowly. Actually getting kind of close. The thing with this technique is you can put too much acetone on your existing binding. So say your piece in the acetone isn't melted enough, then you're basically just putting acetone on there and you're not truly filling the gap with any more plastic, and you can actually melt this surface too. So you have to kind of be careful with it. Our binding piece is nice and soft. So I'm just going to use this and try to not block the camera somehow. Just kind of wipe it over the joint that I want filled. Should also have gloves on, but it's 9 o'clock at night. The wife and kids are finally down for sleep, and I want to get this done. So, kind of have to go quickly because this will solidify pretty quick on you. That already looks better. Sometimes it takes a couple of passes. But when compared to this side, you can see the gap that I've got there. And then here, it's already significantly better. So probably one more pass on this side, and then do the same on the other side. Okay, here we go. I had to take a short break. My dog was out here with me, and she let out the nastiest fart. Hard to talk during a video when you can't breathe. So she was exiled to the backyard. Okay. I'd say that's looking better. I can always keep going if I decide I need to, but I think that's a good stopping point for that. The body is a little bit different story, and I'll show you why. Okay. So you can already see it. I've got this one gap here. This is a single piece of binding that goes around the entire back. On the top, we don't have this issue because this gets cut away. And so when I'm doing this, I can leave this piece long, go around my corners, glue it in place, trim this all nice and flush. Don't have to worry about a gap. But this spot on the back that keeps everything continuous, needs to get filled. So we'll do that next. And it's basically the same process, but it's a little bit of a bigger gap because it's not just a difference in level between two pieces of binding, but a true seam. You could do this as well. Say you had a gap somewhere on the back of the top between the body itself and the edge of the binding that you want. The risk with that is this is closer to a finished surface than like a neck that you're going to carve a bunch of material on. So you could potentially leave white binding plastic in the pores of the wood that would be hard to sand out. And also your line wouldn't be this perfect, uh, this perfect width throughout the entire thing. You'd have spots where if you had a gap, it would be fatter and then skinnier and so on. But I'm just going to hit the top portion here a little bit. Hit this seam some more. Okay. That's better. And again, it's probably not going to be perfect. If you look at guitars with plastic binding on them, you are likely to find some spots where they were made by hand, because a lot of these processes can only be done by hand. So the last thing that I've got to do is right here. I've got a small gap. You can just barely see some daylight right there. As this was coming around this corner, my piece just slowly swooped up a tiny bit and settled in place. Nice thing about having high contrast between dark and light like this is I can just take some walnut dust, pack that, some super glue, and it'll disappear. So I'll probably put some tape here on the back side to keep everything from like spilling out, and then we'll take care of this. Okay. Thin super glue works really well for this. I also am fond of this. It is not too thin, not too thick. Works pretty good. One thing that you can keep in mind with this trick is that your dust will, with the super glue, will tend to dry darker than. So even if I'm using walnut dust on walnut, and I put the dust in there with the super glue, it will dry a tiny bit darker most of the time. So what you can do to alleviate that, if you're really worried about it, if this was like a much bigger gap that you're trying to hide and then fix or repair on a table or something else, mix it with a little bit of a lighter dust and then do your glue, and it'll be a closer match. Okay. And again, these plastic razor blades are handy because I can scrape off the excess here without displacing everything that I just put in that little gap. And then I'm actually going to put a drop of super glue kind of above where I want it to go so it'll run down and in. Okay. I've also found too, doing this, a lot of people like to use accelerator spray to get the glue to dry just instantly. That also tends to darken the color of the dust glue combination in the joint. So just something else to keep in mind. Okay. It's not completely perfectly sanded, but we now don't have daylight in there. And you can see there, just above my thumbnail, I had some glue there. So once I get the rest of that discoloration sanded off, no one's ever going to know it was there. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. All right. Have a good day.